All right, getting ready for a Sewerage Systems Management interview, huh? Talk about keeping things flowing. We're diving deep today with some RoleCatcher resources to help you prep think career guides, those tricky interview questions. Oh, and their AI that can make your answers really shine.
No doubt this role is critical, to say the least.
Yeah.
And the interview process, yeah, they don't mess around. They're going to be looking for someone who not only knows their stuff, but can lead a team. And honestly, someone who's like genuinely into this whole, well, essential field.
Totally. So let's just jump right into some questions they might throw at you,
Sure.
okay? One of the first ones, it's kind of classic, is tell us about your experience managing sewage systems. Seems pretty simple, but there's a lot you can do to make your answer really, stand out.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to just start listing off every project you've ever worked on, but honestly, that's not going to cut it. They're looking for more than that. They want to know, like, how big and complex were the systems you handled? What's your leadership style like? And maybe the most important thing is, like, what impact did you actually have?
Right. Like instead of just saying, oh, I managed a team of 10 people, tell them about a time you led, like a major system upgrade, something that made things 15% more efficient or reduced the environmental impact. Like use numbers to back up what you're saying. Numbers are powerful.
For sure. And don't be afraid to get a little technical here.
Hmm.
Show off what you know about different treatment processes, pipe materials, monitoring systems, all that stuff. It's your chance to really prove you're an expert.
And then they might ask, okay, so what was the biggest challenge you faced on that project and how did you overcome it? Like this is where you can really shine.
Yeah. Think about a time you had to, like, get creative, think outside the box. Maybe you had a really tough blockage in a super busy area or had to negotiate like a really difficult contract with a vendor. They want to see you can handle pressure and find solutions. Solutions.
Okay, let's move on to another common question that sometimes trips people up. How do you ensure that sewage systems comply with all the regulations? Regulations are always changing, so they want to see that you're staying on top of everything.
This is where you got to do your research. Know the key regulations like the back of your hand. The Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, local ordinances, like all of it. And be ready to give examples of how you actually put those into practice in your past roles.
And they might even throw a curveball, like asking about a recent change to the rules or a particularly a tricky part of compliance. So it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about really understanding how they work in the real world.
Totally. And don't forget to highlight how proactive you are. Do you have a system for staying updated on new regulations? Do you go to conferences or workshops? Show them you're dedicated to staying ahead of the curve.
Okay, now let's get into some project management stuff of this question. Can you describe your experience in managing sewage system upgrades or expansions? Huh. These projects are huge, right? So they want to see you can handle the size and complexity of it all.
Definitely. Choose a project that really shows off your leadership and problem-solving skills. Walk them through the whole thing from start to finish, the planning, budgeting, working with different people involved, and how you dealt with any unexpected roadblocks.
They'll be looking for signs that you can manage big teams, use resources wisely, and communicate clearly with everyone involved.
And don't just focus on the technical side of things. Talk about the people involved too. Like, how did you deal with concerns from the community? Or how did you make sure there was minimal impact on the environment? Or how did you keep everyone safe?
This is where RoleCatcher's AI tools can really come in handy. You can upload your resume and instantly see how well it matches the job description for these kinds of projects.
Yeah, exactly. It can pinpoint anything you might be missing in your experience or skills, and even suggest ways to beef up your resume. Plus, it can help you tailor your answers to really highlight the things they're specifically looking for in a project manager.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's always on people's minds in this field. How do you prioritize maintenance and repair work for sewage systems? Resources are always limited, so they want to see you can make tough choices.
This one's all about showing off your analytical and problem-solving skills. You need to demonstrate that you have a system for figuring out which repairs are the most urgent. Maybe you use data analytics to predict potential failures, or maybe you do regular inspections to find areas that need attention.
They might even ask you to, walk through a made-up situation. You've got a limited budget and a bunch of urgent repairs. How do you decide what gets fixed first? Think about all the things you'd have to consider, like how serious is the problem? What's the impact on public health and the environment going to be? What resources are available? And of course, how much is it all going to cost?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get specific here. Mention any software or tools you've used for tracking maintenance, analyzing data, or making decisions. It's your chance to show off how tech savvy you are.
All right, here's a question that really puts your leadership skills to the test. How do you manage the risks associated with sewerage systems, like things like flooding or environmental damage?
Yeah.
These are high-stakes situations, so they want to see you've got a plan.
This is where you show them how proactive you are about managing risk. Talk about your experience developing and using risk assessments, contingency plans, and emergency response protocols, like the whole 9 yards.
They'll be looking for any evidence that you can see problems coming, take steps to prevent them, and act decisively when things hit the fan.
And remember, it's not just about preventing those oh crap moments. It's also about minimizing the damage when they do happen. Have you ever had to communicate with the public during an emergency? Or work with regulatory agencies? Or coordinate cleanup efforts? These are all super valuable skills to have in this field. And this is where practicing with RoleCatcher's AI can give you a real leg up. You can run through different risk management scenarios and get feedback on how you'd handle them. It helps you fine-tune your approach and really boost your confidence.
Yeah, like having a virtual mock interview with an expert, right?
Yeah.
Helps you spot any weak points in your answers. Okay, let's move on to a question everyone loves. Can you describe your experience in managing budgets for sewerage systems?
Oh, the budget question. Not the most exciting, I'll admit, but super important in this role. They want to make sure you get the whole financial side of managing these systems and that you can, make smart choices with limited resources.
Exactly. So don't just say, oh, I managed a budget of this much money. Actually walk them through your process. How do you put together budget proposals, track spending, find ways to save money? And how do you make sure everything's accountable?
Right. And be ready to give some real examples. Did you negotiate a great deal with a vendor? Implement a new technology that cut down on operating costs? Find some creative way to make the budget stretch further. Those are the kind of things they want to hear.
Yeah, they might even give you a hypothetical situation. Like, okay, you've got a set budget and a bunch of projects or repairs you need to do. How do you choose what to focus on? This is where your analytical skills and your understanding of the big picture really matter.
Totally. It's also a chance to show that you get how these budget decisions affect the whole system, how do they impact efficiency and sustainability? And how do they fit in with the city's long-term goals for infrastructure?
All right, let's switch gears again and talk about something that's becoming more and more important. How do you ensure that sewage systems operate efficiently and effectively? It's not just about keeping things moving anymore. It's about making sure they're working as well as they possibly can.
This is where your passion for innovation and always improving things really shines. Talk about any new technologies or processes you've implemented that made things more efficient. Maybe it's a new treatment method, a data-driven monitoring system, or just a better way of doing maintenance.
Right. They might ask you about specific things you track, like energy use, water quality, how much the treatment plant is putting out, even things like customer satisfaction. Show them you're all about data and results.
And don't be afraid to think outside the box, Are you looking into new stuff like smart sensors or AI-powered predictive maintenance? Are you excited about making things more sustainable? This is your chance to show them how forward-thinking you are.
And speaking of thinking ahead, let's go back to RoleCatcher's AI tools for a sec. Their career guides can give you a lot of insight into industry trends and new technologies, which can be really helpful when you're answering questions. It shows them you're committed to keeping up with the latest developments.
Absolutely. And their AI feedback can help you make sure your answers are exactly what the job description is asking for. It's like having a personalized coach helping you get your message across perfectly.
Okay, let's tackle another question that often comes up. Can you describe your experience in managing teams in the sewerage systems field? This one's all about your leadership skills and how you motivate a team, even when the work isn't always, glamorous.
It's super important to show them you understand the unique challenges and rewards of managing a team in this kind of environment. Think about a time when you faced a really tough situation. Maybe there was a major system failure or a public health concern, or just a crazy deadline with not enough resources.
Yeah, and how did you get your team on board and overcome those challenges?
Yeah.
Did you keep the lines of communication open, delegate effectively, provide clear direction and support?
Remember, they want to see proof that you can build a strong, tight-knit team that can work together even when things get stressful.
Don't forget to mention any programs or initiatives you've put in place to improve morale, communication, or professional development. Those things matter too.
Now, let's circle back to a question we talked about earlier. How do you ensure those sewage systems comply with all the regulations? It's
Yeah.
not just about knowing the rules, right? They want to know you have a system for putting those rules into action and keeping up with any changes.
Right, so be ready to give some real-world examples. Maybe you created a new training program for your team, or put a strong auditing process in place, or worked with regulatory agencies to streamline the permitting process.
And make sure to highlight your proactive approach. Do you subscribe to industry newsletters? Attend conferences, participate in online forums. Show them you're actively involved in the regulatory landscape and you're committed to staying compliant.
Okay, let's tackle another one that tests your problem-solving skills. Can you describe your experience in managing sewerage system upgrades or expansions? These projects are huge undertakings, so they want to see that you can handle the scope and complexity.
Pick a project that really showcases your ability to lead a large-scale initiative from beginning to end. Walk them through the process, the planning, the budgeting, managing all the different stakeholders, overcoming those unexpected roadblocks. They want to see that you can manage big teams, allocate resources effectively, and communicate clearly with everyone involved.
And don't just focus on the technical aspects. Remember the human side of things too. How did you address concerns from the community, mitigate the environmental impact, ensure worker safety?
It's important to remember that these big projects are about more than just pipes and pumps. They're about people, communities, and the environment. Showing that you understand those broader impacts will make your answer really stand out.
Okay, so let's talk about how you prioritize all that maintenance and repair work, right? How do you prioritize maintenance and repair work for sewerage systems? Always a tough one because there's never enough money and things pop up out of nowhere. So how do you decide what gets fixed first?
Yeah, they're really trying to see how you think through things with this question, your analytical skills, and how you think strategically about those repairs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't just give them the obvious answer like, well, I'd fix the biggest problem first. Walk them through your process. Like, do you use a risk assessment matrix? Do you think about the potential impact on the environment, public health, cost-benefit analyses, the whole shebang? Show them you're not just reacting, you're actually managing the situation.
And it's important to show them you understand how everything's connected, right? Like a little problem in one spot could snowball into something much bigger down the line.
Oh, absolutely. They might even throw a curveball and say something like, okay, imagine a huge storm just hit, and you've got reports of sewer overflows and blockages everywhere. How do you prioritize your response?
Yeah.
That's where you got to think on your feet and make tough calls under pressure.
This is another spot where RoleCatcher's AI can be a lifesaver. They've got tons of these what-if questions in their library, and the AI can actually look at your answers and give you feedback on how to make them even better.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket, right? Helping you prepare for those unexpected questions and really nail your answers.
Totally. And speaking of thinking on your feet, let's talk about another question that comes up a lot. How do you manage all the risks that come with sewage systems? We're not just talking about preventing accidents here. It's about keeping people safe and protecting the environment.
Right. It's about looking ahead, seeing what could go wrong, and having a plan in place if it does.
Exactly. They'll probably want to hear about specific risk mitigation strategies. You've used things like regular inspections, predictive maintenance programs, emergency response protocols. Be ready to give them some concrete examples of how you've proactively dealt with potential risks.
And this is where your passion for this whole field really shines through. Are you excited about using new technologies to make things safer? Are you all about sustainability? Do you see yourself as someone who protects public health and the environment? Let that excitement show.
Yeah, for sure. This is your chance to really connect with the interviewers, show them you're not just looking for any job, you're looking to make a real difference.
Okay, let's move on to a topic that some people forget to prepare for. Can you describe your experience managing budgets for sewerage systems? I mean, it's not the most glamorous part of the job, but it's definitely crucial.
Absolutely. They want to know you understand the financial side of things, that you can make tough decisions about how to spend money, and that you're all about accountability and transparency when it comes to managing those funds.
Right. So don't just throw numbers at them. Tell them about your approach to budgeting. Do you use a zero-based budgeting model? Do you think long-term or short-term? How do you get your team involved in the process?
And be ready to give them specific examples of how you've handled budgets in the past. Did you find a way to save money, negotiate a good contract, get more funding for an important project? Those are the kind of wins they want to hear about.
Yeah, for sure. They might even ask, okay, you've got a fixed budget and a bunch of different things you need to do. How do you decide where the money goes?
Hmm.
That's where your analytical skills and your big picture thinking come in.
It's also a good opportunity to show off your communication skills. Can you explain those budget decisions clearly? Can you get your team, stakeholders, and even the public on board with them?
Okay, now let's switch gears one last time and talk about something that's becoming really important. How do you make sure sewage systems are operating efficiently and effectively? It's not just about keeping things moving anymore. It's about making sure they're working as well as they possibly can, having the least impact on the environment, and using resources wisely.
Yeah, this is where your passion for innovation and always making things better really comes in. Talk about any new technologies or processes you've implemented that made things more efficient. Maybe it's a new treatment method or a data-driven monitoring system or even just a more streamlined way of handling maintenance.
They might ask you about specific metrics you track, like energy use, water quality, how much the treatment plant is producing, even things like customer satisfaction. You want to show them you're all about data and getting results.
And don't be afraid to think outside the box here. Are you looking into new things like smart sensors or AI-powered predictive maintenance? Are you passionate about making things more sustainable? This is your chance to show them how forward-thinking you are.
And speaking of thinking ahead, let's circle back to those RoleCatcher AI tools one more time. Their career guides can give you some great insights into what's happening in the industry and new technologies that are coming out, which can really make your answers stand out. It shows them you're committed to staying on top of things.
For sure. And don't forget, their AI can give you feedback on your answers and help you tailor them to exactly what the job description is looking for. It's like having your own personal coach getting you ready to make a great impression.
Right, one last question that sometimes catches people off guard. Why are you so passionate about working with sewerage systems? It might seem a little strange, but it's a great opportunity to connect with the interviewers on a personal level.
This is your chance to show them how much you genuinely care about this field, even though it's not always the most glamorous. Talk about what drew you to this work in the first place. Were you always fascinated by engineering? Did you want to protect public health? Were you drawn to the environmental side of things?
Yeah, share a story and experience, something that shows your passion. Maybe it was a project that had a real impact on your community, or a mentor who inspired you, or even just the satisfaction of knowing you're making a difference in people's lives.
Just be yourself. Don't force it or try to sound too sappy. Just let your real passion come through.
And this isn't just about impressing the interviewers. It's about reminding yourself why you chose this field in the first place.
Exactly. So while you're preparing for that interview, take some time to think about your journey, what motivates you, and what you want to achieve. That self-awareness will not only make your answers stronger, it'll give you a renewed sense of purpose and confidence.
And don't forget all the resources out there to help you. Industry publications, professional organizations, online forums, and of course, those awesome AI tools from RoleCatcher. With the right prep and the right mindset, you can absolutely nail that interview and land that dream job in the incredible world of sewage systems management.